and welcome to another episode of Spotlight Sessions. My name's Ilan Fisher. I'm the host from accessiBe's, heading up on nonprofit partnerships. And today I'm super excited to be having a conversation with Sarah Thompson. Sarah is the CEO of Rehabilitative Rhythms. How's it going, Sarah?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. So Sarah, we were talking a little bit offline, and what I really wanted to know is a little bit about how you got involved with Rehabilitative Rhythms, a little bit about the organization, as well as yourself and kind of your professional journey so far.
Absolutely. So I actually found music therapy when I was in college. It's a college major. You can major in music therapy. That's how all music therapists get started. But I come from a family that's quite musical, and so that was part of my background was music in general. And I was studying other things in school. I was actually studying environmental science and really enjoyed it, but was looking for a situation where I could see more directly what my impact was going to be. And so ended up actually in the field of music therapy and really started Rehabilitative Rhythms just to see a few clients here and there that were in need of services, never dreaming that it was going to grow to what it is today and become a nonprofit. So it started as a small business 17 years ago and then became a nonprofit around 2020, just so we could expand the reach that we're able to have and reach more people, specifically with neurologic impairments.
So thank you so much, Sarah. And when speaking of people with neurological impairments, what are some of the benefits of music therapy and what are some of the characteristics of your work?
Really, the basis for what we do comes from neuroscience. And this is what drew me to music therapy, was actually being exposed to a neuroscience approach to music therapy that really spoke to me because of my environmental science background. I already had, organic chemistry and all of those things. And so combining the science with the art really spoke to me quite a bit. And what we really do with music is use musical abilities that are left intact to help people have a better quality of life. So, for example, the most common example that you hear is a stroke survivor who has aphasia, meaning that they're non-fluent, they can't get a lot of words out speaking, but a lot of those folks can still sing entire songs totally fluently. Mm-hmm. They may have 100 words in them, but speaking, they're only getting out, 2 or 3 words. Singing, they can get out 100 words or more, no problem. And it's really that music is wired in such a robust way in our brains that when people have a neurologic injury or a disease like dementia, a lot of abilities get lost, but a lot of musical abilities get left intact, or the ability to perceive music is still intact. And so that gives us a window into, or really an access point to be able to reach people. So for people with Alzheimer's, for example, their ability to engage with language again becomes affected, and they can have trouble getting words out or, understanding what's being said to them. But they perceive all elements of music the same way as someone without dementia or someone without Alzheimer's through the end of the disease. So you've got someone who's struggling in their daily life, but they can still respond to melody, harmony, rhythm, lyrics, all these musical elements. And that's why you hear these stories of people with dementia, who suddenly seem like themselves when you've got, familiar songs on, and so really what our job is to use that to make people's lives better. So that's great. If they could sing a song, if a stroke survivor can still sing a song, but they can't speak, well, what do you do with it? And that's really where our job comes in. And it's, really music therapy is a skilled intervention to use music to improve people's lives, to make it really basic.
Wow, that's really powerful. And, I'm discovering and learning as I go, and especially in this role, speaking to so many different disability focused organizations, I get I get to learn a lot. So thank you so much for sharing and educating. So Sarah, we spoke a little bit about it offline, but I'd love to know a little bit about the breakdown of your organization, what your day-to-day looks like, and kind of how you go about achieving your mission. You said you moved from kind of a for-profit to the non-profit status in 2020. I'd love to hear about how kind of that professional journey is developed.
Yeah, we've really grown over 17 years. Like I said, when I started Rehabilitative Rhythms, it was just to see a few families and help out a few families. I really didn't have a vision, for what it is today, but it's just evolved over time and grown. And we've got a staff of about 10 right now in 2 locations in the Denver metro area. We're in Denver, Colorado. And about 50% of our work is focused on people with developmental differences. So autistic individuals, individuals with developmental delays or differences, seizure disorders, Down syndrome, those types of diagnoses. And then the other half is, brain injuries, stroke, Parkinson's, dementia, all the neurologic impairments and injuries. We're about 50-50 in each of those populations. And we do individual services where someone really wants to work on something specific to their life. Here's a parent of a child who's autistic, and they say, at school they're only paying attention for 30 seconds, but with music, we see that they can pay attention for 5 or 10 minutes without blinking an eye. And so we use that then to help them work on their developmental milestones. That's something we would do in individual sessions. We also have small groups where we provide the opportunity to work on social skills and just socialization and making friendships, because that's one of the things that families tell us is really hard, especially for children, but even adults with disabilities, is friendships. People don't know how to navigate, accessibility and disability and how to engage with folks. And so we've created, music is, I don't know if you've ever, Elon, played music with someone, but it's like an instant bond when you play music with someone. So we have these social groups where we are working on all the skills needed to build friendships. And then while we're having those social groups, then the parents or caregivers of the people that are in those groups kind of have their own happy hour / social group / support group while they're waiting. And so that's been a real win-win for us. So we do individual social group. We have an adaptive music lab, which is adaptive music equipment to make sure that everyone has the ability to play music. We also have the Rocky Mountain Aphasia Chorale, which is a celebration of what people with aphasia can still do, which is sing. And we're involved in some research, and we do early intervention work. We go to schools, we go to facilities. It's quite wide ranging, all the things that we can do with music. We also consult with teachers and teach music teachers and special ed teachers how to adapt things, because that's one thing we would hear a lot from parents is they had the 3rd grade music program last night, and there was my child in the corner of the stage just sitting there because nobody knew how to engage them and actually involve them in the music program. And so as a nonprofit, we've been able to get some grants to go in and consult with music educators and show them how to adapt things to make sure their classrooms are inclusive of everyone.
Wow, that is, you're really doing a lot, and I'm learning kind of as it goes as well. And Sarah, really one of the broad questions I really love to ask everybody who comes on the Spotlight sessions is about what accessibility means to them, because you said kind of a lot of things that have to do with accessibility and inclusion as well, whether it be making those provisions for the child who's left out in the corner, or even to create that special bond. So what does accessibility mean to you, and has that definition changed over time as well?
Absolutely, the definition for us has changed, because I think one of the factors in us becoming a nonprofit was that people need access to our services because we're able to create these opportunities where they can show people what they can really do. So, the stroke survivor, that the family thinks, well, they can only speak 2 words and that's all we're ever going to get out of them. Sometimes we catch them a year or 2 later and we're the first person that's ever gotten more than 3 words out of them. And we actually are able to show, wow, they can sing hundreds of words. And then we have techniques, to help them transfer that into speaking, because life is not a musical. You don't walk around singing all the time. But really, because we can use music to access the person, that's there, that's not just the disability. I feel like music provides a window and a way to access the individual and to have them show the world what they're capable of. And so it's, access to us and our services, and then also making sure that music is accessible to everyone. So all kinds of adaptive equipment and things like that. That's really the journey that we've been on, and really what we're trying to educate people about is, sure, these stories are cool when you hear about like, oh, look at this person, they just, responded to this song so amazingly, or, just kind of these one-off stories, and that's great, but what does it mean for that person's life? And that's really where we want to come in and work with the family and the individual themselves and determine, if there's a way that we can make sure that they can really show the world what they're able to do on a more consistent basis, that it's not just a one-off, look at this one cool thing that they can do with this one song or this one instrument, but how do we use that then to transform their whole life, so they're speaking better or making better friendships, just whatever the situation is, that everything's customized to the individual and what's meaningful for their life and what their goals are. But it's a constant journey, I would say, in terms of accessibility, and we learn so much from the families we work with, because I have family members that are touched by disability, but I think that's still only one experience, and really listening to the families that we're working with and what their needs are. And that's what's really helped us grow all these different resources for families, is just trying to help them have the best quality of life possible.
Thank you again, really, really, for sharing that. And as you were saying that, Sarah, I was really thinking of, like, I myself don't know a lot about music therapy. What are some of the challenges that you're finding in this type of therapy, in getting it, people to understand about the benefits more, about getting the word out there? What are some of the challenges that you've been facing for years? Or maybe you can turn around and say, listen, there aren't a lot of challenges. People really understand the benefits of it.
No, I wish I could say that. Maybe by the time I retire, I could say there's no challenges. But we're really fighting a lot of stigma, actually, towards music therapy, because people think that it's, we sort of come in and with our guitar and play Kumbaya and somehow everyone feels better. And that's the extent of what we do, when really a music therapist is a skilled musician, and they have to be able to perform at a college level and get into college, music schools. And a lot of music therapists perform on the side. So these are basically professional musicians who also have training in a lot of programs provide training in neuroscience or neurology, psychology, disability. And so it's really combining those two things. But there really has been a complete lack of understanding about how much science and research there is behind music therapy. There's a whole field of music neuroscientists, and there's some in Israel and in the United States and all over the world, actually, at least 30 countries. There's a international conference of music perception and cognition that happens, I think, every year. But there's hundreds of neuroscientists who only study music perception and cognition. But their work has been completely separate and siloed from medical care, essentially. And so music therapists are using their work to understand why people are responding in certain ways to music. But in general, the rest of the medical community, most physicians, people who are administrators in the hospitals and things like that, really don't understand that there is a lot of science behind it. So they sort of look at it and they go, oh, here's a person playing guitar, and just having a person playing guitar is somehow going to make people feel better, and they think that's sort of the extent of what's happening. That would be like looking at a physical therapy session where someone's walking on a treadmill and thinking, oh, physical therapy is just having someone walk on a treadmill. Like, well, that's one thing that can happen, but there's a whole lot behind why they're doing that, or someone looking at a teacher and saying, oh, standing at a chalkboard, that's teaching. Well, that's one part of it, right? But that's been our biggest struggle, is people not understanding how much science there is behind it. I will say that we're making progress with that, and in the United States, the National Institutes of Health recently started the Sound Health Initiative and gave $20 million to music therapy and neuroscience research, because they are starting to recognize, wow, we've got something here that there's actually a ton of science behind, and not only does it work and it's effective, but it also is, induces a lot of joy. So to take the example that I used earlier of the stroke survivor who couldn't speak a lot of words but could sing. So maybe the goal there was to get more words out, but how do you think they feel when they get those words out? How do you think the family feels? It's, these benefits way beyond maybe what the actual goal is or what the insurance company cares about or what they want to pay for. They want to pay for something that's going to help them be able to communicate or talk on the phone or return to work. And absolutely we can help with that. But what's so cool about music is you get these other benefits, and just, the person that gets those words out feels so much more hopeful that there's maybe an option for me to actually recover more of my speech. And the family is now recognizing, oh, look what they can still do. I had no idea that they could do that. Just there's more recognition of that, but we still have so far to go to have people really recognize the skill set that a music therapist has and the research that's behind it.
Like, I continuously through this conversation, I'm like wowed and amazed by the depth and breadth of music therapy, and I think that's really kind of a lot of what these interviews are about. It's really just about taking those conversations, learning more, and then being able to apply that. And really the last question I want to ask is, if somebody wants to reach out to you for partnerships, to support, to get involved, to learn more, to educate more, how can they get in touch with you, and how can they get in touch with Rehabilitative Rhythms?
So we actually, because Rehabilitative Rhythms is not the easiest thing to spell, our tagline that really captures the breadth, as you say, of all that we do is possible with music. So music makes all these things possible. So our website is www.possiblewithmusic.org. So people can reach out to us at possiblewithmusic.org. That's probably the easiest way to learn more about our adaptive lab, our choirs. We actually have an adaptive rock band now too, with brain injury survivors. Just trying to create more opportunities for people to see people for who they are and what they're capable of, and kind of move the aspects of disability more towards the back, and really highlight, using music to highlight what is possible.
Amazing. Sarah, I really wanted to thank you for your time and for this opportunity, and I'm really glad that we finally connected for this interview. And until next time, again, thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you're doing, and the work especially in educating about a field that people don't know a lot about but can provide so much to so many people. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.